My storage filled up in the middle of that. I apologize. Therefore, superior people cautiously practice introspection, striving to cause true mindfulness to grow and errant thought to vanish, not allowing the slightest defect to remain in the heart. This is because good and evil, fortune and calamity, depend on the movement of a single thought, which makes the difference between heaven and hell. One can only sustain good thoughts and get rid of bad thoughts if one is able to be cautious before the movement of thought and introspective after the movement of thought, guarding against dangers, aware of perils, not daring to slack off at any time, sustaining good thoughts and getting rid of bad thoughts until all bad thought is gone and all thought is purely good. Ultimately wholesome without any ill, then thought may be active all the time without one being hindered by its activity. That activity returning to the state of total integration with the celestial design. And now, Hexagram 19 and 51 out of Hilary Barrett's translation of the I Ching, which is not necessarily a Taoist perspective. Hexagram 19, nearing. Key questions. How does this want to grow? How can you take responsibility for its development? What would your greater self do? Oracle. Nearing. Creating success from the source. Constancy bears fruit. Reaching an end in the 8th month means a pitfall. Nearing means drawing closer and gazing down over what you approach. There are 2 strands of meaning here. The approach of a greater spirit or presence in an ongoing process of growth, and your approach as the one who pays attention and takes responsibility. Like the creative drive of Hexagram 1, this great growing energy comes from the source, asks for your full participation, and seeks to reach fruition and be realized. But its surging growth can be disastrously interrupted by reaching an end in the 8th month. The 8th month is the month of harvest. If this comes around too soon for what nears to reach full growth, if the situation demands that you produce a tangible result prematurely, then this means misfortune. Or if you focus exclusively on results instead of watching patiently over developments, if your expectations are out of touch with the pace of growth, then there is misfortune. Having something to show for a process of growth doesn't mean you've arrived at its outcome. Harvest is not the end. As each harvest is gathered in and stored, the seasonal cycle of growth continues. You need to stay present to its ongoing changes, wherever they might lead. Image. Above the lake is earth, nearing. A noble one teaches and reflects untiringly, accepts and protects the people without limit. A noble one has the inner reflective depths of the lake, contained within the protective, accepting qualities of the earth. She is the one with endless capacity to reflect, interact, and explain, to shelter and nurture people as a parent protects a child. She has the strength and maturity, and so naturally becomes responsible. Sequence. Nearing follows from Hexagram 18, corruption. With work to do, greatness becomes possible, and so nearing follows. Nearing means greatness. The experience of dealing with corruption gives rise to nearing. What was once a curse becomes a source of strength. By doing the work of dealing with the old poisons, you create a secure foundation for your greater self to emerge. No negative pattern or insecurity need remain to obstruct the process of growth. Pair. Nearing forms a pair with Hexagram 20, seeing. What is right for nearing and seeing? Someone reaches out, someone seeks. Hexagram 19 and 20 respond to one another. Seeing watches for nearing, to approach, and reach out. They connect, and each completes the other. When you are nearing, you become the help, guidance, or opportunity waiting to be seen. And then 51, shock. Key questions. What must change? What will continue? Oracle, shock, creating success. Shock comes fear and terror, laughing words, shrieking and yelling. Shock spreads fear for 100 miles. Someone does not lose the sacred ladle and libation. Shock is something that stirs, rouses, and shakes you up, like an earthquake or a violent thunderstorm. In ancient China, heaven spoke through thunder, and thus was an omen that the human world was to be brought back into harmony. Abruptly, your world is not working as you expect. The solid ground shifts under your feet, security slips away, and mental constructs shatter. Living reality has spoken. Shock spreads out in waves of contagious fear and hysteria. Suddenly, everyone is all too closely in touch with their own emotions and with everyone else's, and all are reacting to one another. It is a time to hold on to what you most value and take on responsibility for keeping it safe through the upheaval, like the priest who is charged with safeguarding the temple and altars from the past for the future. Consider what remains constant and true when everything else is in turmoil. This doesn't necessarily mean resisting the shock itself, so much as keeping a still point in the midst of the tumult of reactions to it. Then you never lose your connection with the creative power that speaks through the storms. Image, rolling thunder, shock. A noble one in fear and dread sets things in order and is watchful. When the outer world is shaken up, the noble one is also inwardly shaken. He is wide awake now, quivering with